Welcome to Unit 10 of EDSE 512. The areas of focus for this 2-week unit will be the implementation of the IEP and the IEP meetings themselves. You'll notice that we have 2 graded assignments for Unit 10, and this unit does last for 2 weeks. The first would be a discussion. You'll want to keep a close eye on the course schedule document for the deadline for your first post for the discussion. And then the other assignment would be the case study part 3, which is on IEP development. Now remember, in the critiques, we've looked over some pretty terrible IEP components, and this has been frustrating and irritating for many of you because you see them and you know that they're wrong and that they're done poorly and that there's so much more you could have added or said to make that IEP document solid. And so seeing a poorly written IEP is very concerning for a quality practitioner, and this is your chance, it's your opportunity to develop an IEP for the case study student that you worked with previously. That's either Misha or Rasto, developing that IEP for case study part 3 to fill in that CDE form and make that document comprehensive, meeting the needs of the child based upon the results of the present levels data and the evaluation that has been given to you previously in this course in PDF format, and really making that strong IEP where needs drive goals, drive services. You've got that golden thread running through. Any area of need should be addressed and areas of strength should be highlighted. So we want that comprehensive present levels of performance section. And there is a video lecture on case study part 3, IEP development. So yes, this is a 2-week unit. You'll notice that the discussion is linked to this case study part 3 assignment. And in my opinion, this is one of the most significant and largest assignments for our course. It's also one of the most important and valuable practice opportunities. So plan ahead, get started on this as soon as possible, and then you can get in touch with me with any questions and reach out to your colleagues on the discussion board as well. So for Unit 10, you'll notice that we'll be reading out of the IEP Manual. I would encourage you to check out the video lecture that focuses on the case study part 3 assignment. And for IEP implementation, there is a PowerPoint here that you can review. And this will just be focused on a couple different areas related to intervention, collaboration with colleagues. Obviously, we need to have close collaboration with general education and special education providers. You'll recognize these percentage values as we've discussed the least restrictive environment. We may have services inside or outside of the general education classroom, and we need to collaborate with colleagues differently depending upon what the service decision is. This presentation just provides you with some points to consider in that arena. So what kinds of resources will you be using, and how will you make those collaborative connections with colleagues, and not only with colleagues, but also with students. So we've got a link here as well to the procedural manual, and you're familiar with that one. Options for least restrictive environment, we talk about those percentage placements, and this really is a review of some of that content, along with some suggestions for strategies for instruction in these various settings, and we'll look at some different school options. So that's a good presentation to review. This page also provides a couple different links for resources for parents or guardians. We do want to collaborate, obviously, very closely and effectively with family members before the IEP meeting. There are some forms here for you to check out that are free to you. You can download these and print them or email them if you want to gather some information from parents and guardians before the meeting has occurred. And planning ahead proactively for an IEP meeting, gathering as much input as possible, is a great way to keep the IEP meeting from feeling like a surprise party, as this visual shows us. If you're feeling stress or anxiety about an IEP meeting, it could be an indication that you need to do some more prep work and really communicate with the family ahead of time. What do you want to discuss in the meeting? What do you hope to hear or think through, talk about? And then afterwards, of course, we want to get them that finalized copy of the IEP with any adjustments made from the meeting as soon as possible, and to be in touch with them regarding plans to address the issues that came up during the meeting and a plan for progress monitoring. Collaboration with the general education teacher. There is some more information here as well. You want to gather as much input as possible. Some people enjoy using a little Google form. Some people like using paper forms. Some people like gathering verbal input or reaching out via email. So you can try out those different tools and just see what's the best way to get information from general education teachers regarding the child's present levels of performance in those teachers' classes. You will need to send an IEP snapshot, and your programming will provide this snapshot, including information on accommodations and primary and or secondary disability, information on healthcare or behavior plan, and the goals that the child is working on and the service times that the child has. So these IEP snapshots, kind of like a mini IEP, it doesn't have all of the present levels or the recent evaluation or anything like that in there. But these snapshot documents will go to general education teachers so that they have the information needed to support the student best in the classroom. There is a page here regarding the facilitated IEP or the FIEP, and this is the concept of an IEP meeting that is run by somebody who is a neutral party, and this person is facilitating that IEP meeting. So this may be effective not only in situations where there might be conflict or challenges, it may also be effective just as a proactive measure to get that neutral voice in there. And you'll see some different levels of IEP facilitation. So for instance, even a case manager could use tools from the facilitated IEP process, such as developing norms for the meeting, providing an agenda to team members, using visual charts, for instance, a parking lot where questions can be added to a piece of butcher paper, for example, and all of these can be used by the case manager with some of those FIEP approaches in mind. Other schools within the district may share people who are trained in facilitated IEP approaches. That would be a more intensive intervention. And then ultimately, the highest level of intervention, this person would be selected and then hired by the school to come and facilitate that meeting. That would often be in a situation where there is higher conflict, and this would be an external facilitator. So the FIEP is a good process to keep in mind even if you're not experiencing conflict. It's still good to put some of those norms and best practices into your everyday approaches to IEP meetings. Student-led IEP meetings are also an interesting area of research and focus. You may see a child starting to take more authority or take more leadership in the IEP process. You can see that this bright blue over here on the left is when the IEP is occurring without the student present. And that might be a really young child or some situation in which the student can't be there. But obviously we want the most involvement possible for the largest amount of time at the highest level possible that the student feels comfortable with, that is beneficial for the student and for the IEP team. So as we go, you can see all the way to the right, that would be the student facilitating the IEP meeting entirely. All students are different, obviously. For some students, this may never be appropriate. For other students, this may occur even earlier than high school. It really depends on who the child is and what the child's skill sets and interests are. So you'll notice there are many different options in between the two, and that's because we always have a continuum here, and we can involve the student at whatever level is appropriate in a given year. There are some resources here for you supporting students to work through their IEP process and even prepare for leadership in the IEP meeting. This can be a really empowering opportunity for students. And again, it doesn't have to be entirely facilitated and led by the student. This could just be partial. That's why we have that continuum. So there is an I'm Determined link here to the student-led IEPs page. And then there is a video here for you as well. This is an article on 6 things to never say or hear during an IEP meeting. So it's just kind of a good read for you about particular comments that you'll never want to be hearing or saying. So for instance, this one here, the time save. This would be if a teacher is sharing to the family that an IEP goal has been picked straight out of a book and now we're all ready to go and you can sign here. We don't want to come off as if we are in a rush or as if our process is not individualized. We need to take the time and the energy and dedicate those resources to the family and to the student to ensure that we're implementing best practices and truly developing an individualized plan. So do check this article out. It's got some good little case study options and examples. And then this is a video for you regarding best practices and IEPs, and there are some downloads that you can use to support your review of that content. Do's and don'ts, just a little fun video for you. And here is another article addressing speech language pathologists and their role in the IEP process. So that's just supplemental information for you. And we now find ourselves at the Unit 10 discussion board. So you'll see here in capital letters that we need to make our posts early for this discussion. The reason for that is that you'll have the opportunity to upload the draft of your IEP document for case study part 3 and receive peer review and peer feedback. So this is exciting, and obviously in order to give your colleagues time to reflect and respond, you want to get this uploaded as soon as possible. Even if it's not perfect and shiny and it's kind of in the early stages, just upload it. You can get the information. You'll be addressing these questions 1 through 7 for your feedback to your colleagues, and you will need to review at least 2 of the IEP drafts that your colleagues have submitted. And if you see somebody that doesn't have comments, it's a great opportunity to review their document so that we all get some feedback. And we'll want to be supportive as well as constructive. So we do not have a requirement for text or source citation for this particular discussion. Typically we do, but it never hurts to include some resource citation if you'd like to do that, along with the feedback that you share to others. So great opportunity. Do take advantage of this. Post as early as possible, and look forward to working with you on this discussion.